duck boat accident doesn't mean that every duck boat is in danger.
The audio and stuff is going live now, just letting you know. So just there's music and chatter going as we start. So
when we were flying out of Dallas, when I was going to the airport, there was like this huge pillar of black smoke, right?
And it was a duck boat.
No, I was telling my mom took me to the airport. I said, dude, that's okay if that's
said dude to your mom.
Yeah, totally.
Bro.
Word to your mother, dude to your mother.
I said, if that's a plane that has crashed, I feel much better about flying today because what are the odds of 2 planes crashing in one day?
Yeah. I would have punched you.
Oh boy.
Hey.
Wait, so my
okay.
Philly, the duck boats today.
Like 14 people died on this duck boat in
3 hours away from where I am.
which is
Missouri.
Okay.
Duck boats, I guess.
Yeah, but I don't think you were in any danger.
It just seems like the most harmless vehicle in the world.
Yeah. Until it capsizes.
Oh my god.
And then you can't get out.
Oh my god.
Or unless you're an angry citizen that walks the street every day and has those people in those cars whack at them with their...
Oh,
Is that you?
Dangerous. Is that you?
Dude, are you saying freak out on the duck people that look at you, you'd be walking to work and they'd be whacking at you on the things.
Come on, dude, I'm walking here. I'm walking here.
And Philly, the duck boats, they give you like... Yeah. Where are you going on a duck boat? The Schuylkill. The river and the Delaware Bay.
I clearly do not have any idea about geography.
Yeah, I know.
Like, to me, I'm
River
like,
and Delaware Bay.
alright, Delaware Bay sounds big, but
And the
public
Atlantic
education.
Ocean is right there.
You ready to go, Dave?
The bat signal's out.
Alright.
Going live. Bat signal's out.
And they would ride the duck boats and they'd give her like a kazoo, but it was like a black kazoo, you know? And when you drive, right, they'll go off you, and they would whack at you. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's a very dangerous drive. Quack. They would whack at
You know, quack is so fun.
Yeah, I'm like,
You only quack when
whack
you're
at
in
me
detention, you know,
7 a.m.
and your hockey coach asking why you're all in detention.
I can't be doing that.
Oh yeah,
You fly United? Yeah, damn right, got me too. Oh, I didn't get that.
You're like, I've been wearing the same clothes for 4 days.
Wow.
I walk here from time to
No,
This just took on a whole new level of gross.
Hey, I was on a duck boat eating a
I think you should do this whole thing in like a bathroom. I've been on a duck boat in the same clothes for 72 hours.
Eating a Subway sandwich.
And I had deep dish pizza. Oh, Brandon, I think I smell great. Yeah.
All right, here we go. I'm taking the cameras live, so we should be up here.
Is that AC even blowing cold air?
I don't think so.
There we go.
No, it's
I think the air needs to be
duck
put
boy
up to
air.
like 65 because I honestly think it's frozen. Like I think the coils have frozen. I brought it up to 65.
I don't think so, man. I bet you it doesn't work. We don't have like our own AC unit.
Probably not.
It's a simple thing.
No, it's for real.
You think so?
Yeah.
Come on.
I have no idea.
Yeah, there's
All
no
right.
way. How many units do you think are on the roof?
No, I think each one has its own cooling unit, right?
Yeah.
We'll see if anybody shows up at 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning in most places.
They
But
do. They deserve a huge shout out.
yeah. Oh, somebody's here. Who's that? Allie? Ally? There we go. All right. Here's how we're going to do the intro. I'll do the regular intro. I'm Dave. I'm Matt. And I'll do Brograph as a supplement, blah, blah, blah. And with us is everybody. Just say it and we'll have you say your name on the mic and all that kind of stuff. So, you ready to go? We're rolling?
You rolling?
Yep, I'm rolling. Here we go. What up, bros? Welcome to another Brograph Brocast. I'm Dave.
And I'm Matt.
And Brograph is a supplement to our site, brograph.com, which is a motion graphics tutorial site with tutorials, plugins, podcasts, and other MoGraph stuff. And on the show, we talk about everything ranging from motion graphics to Cinema 4D, After Effects plugins, render engines, doing business, doing taxes, being a contractor, or working for the band. And with us today on the show,
We're live from SIGGRAPH.
everybody at SIGGRAPH. Not everybody, but a lot of people. There's a lot of
the
there's a lot of
entire
Jews in this room.
SIGGRAPH.
the entire
Yes.
providence of no.
I always forget to turn off the music. There we go. Raid Zero's in there.
Hey,
Grant, we got
Bill,
a
what's
Grant.
up?
We got people showing up. I can't
Raid
believe
Zero?
y'all are all showing up at this time. Well, that's nice. All right, what are we talking about today? Because I got nothing.
It's SIGGRAPH.
It's
All right,
SIGGRAPH?
let's. Who all do we have here?
We
Roll
got
call.
Dave Brodor, aka Locked and Loading.
Cool.
Chad Ashley, aka Chad Ashley.
Yeah.
Cool.
Josh Johnson, aka VFX Daily.
Yeah, dude, make sure to check out his SIGGRAPH presentation. I saw it; it was really good. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Brandon Clements.
Aaron Sorensen, aka VFX Central.
There you go. All right, so we're all hanging out. We're we're all here at SIGGRAPH, doing our thing. We are on negative day one,
Yeah.
officially, because I think it's past midnight, right? No, it's 10:45. We're good. Oh man, we got a long night ahead of us.
Foghorn.
All right. Actually, that's pretty good because normally we're starting about midnight on most of these the after events NAB
Yeah.
SIGGRAPH ones. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are on negative day one, which means no, we're on negative day two. Tomorrow is negative day one, and then SIGGRAPH starts.
Is the first day 0 day or is it day 1? I don't know.
We skip 0 altogether.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
0
So
day sounds cool though.
Yeah.
it does.
Yeah. I think someone made a short called 0 Day. Right?
Mhm.
Some small
Some
girlish
guy.
Some
What do you say?
I don't know.
some person, some people.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so there's a lot of really good presenters this year. I'm super excited about it. There's a lot more Germans this year, I have noticed.
Yeah.
I'm nothing.
In like general or at
No,
the Maxon
like
booth?
at the Maxon booth. There's a lot of German
presenting?
presenters, which is cool.
Yeah.
A lot on R20, and I've got to say, I know Chad's with me here because I've been seeing some of the stuff you've been tweeting. Like, R20 is awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
There are so many good features with it. Like, and I didn't realize like how good I think it was. Like the VDB stuff. That's so much cooler than like what you guys think. When you guys think VDB, I guarantee you're thinking clouds, because that's what I thought initially.
Yeah, that's a huge misconception.
Yeah,
Not
no.
misconception, just a completely different idea.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's all like the if you've seen X particles and their VDB meshing and stuff like that, like the Boolean operations, like it's almost like the chamfering that I have been asking for like years and years and years, like being able to smoothly go between like several things. This is it. It looks glorious, like super pretty.
Yeah, it's good.
David Ario's in the chat.
Oh hey,
What's up, David?
What's up, Da?
I'm so sad you're not here.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Octane, Jesus.
He's with us in spirit.
Yeah.
That's good. I like that.
Nicely done.
Amen.
You can't see.
Oh, boy.
He died for our samples.
No.
Oh, my God. That's I'm out.
We're all going now.
So what are you looking forward to seeing, and who are you looking forward to seeing at the conference?
I mean, everyone here is presenting except for Brandon, right?
I'm looking forward to seeing Brandon.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
going to say. I'm looking forward to seeing Brandon. Sweaty ass Brandon.
Dude's getting married. That's why he's sweaty.
Yeah.
He's already starting to sweat.
That's funny.
I'm looking forward to just seeing like everyone. Honestly, I went through the presenter list and I was just like, holy crap! Like some of these people, like this is the first time meeting a lot of these guys. Like we're all friends like on the internet and kind of look at each other's artwork, but then you're like meeting them and kind of getting to know them. And it's like everyone that I've seen on the list, their work is phenomenal. So it's like super cool to be able to like learn from each other. So I'm actually just excited to see everyone at the C4D booth presenting and seeing how they like their workflows, everything
Yeah.
else. So it's just I think it'll be pretty.
I was really
awesome.
interested in seeing some Houdini from you, but
I'm so sorry. Sorry, I'm not doing
Install the
Houdini
software.
since we got the software for me.
Right.
Well, you don't want to do Houdini at a C4D thing, so.
Yeah, it's a little bit.
A little bit
Yeah.
frowned upon.
yeah.
Yeah, they're like,
No.
hey, we can do that too. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to checking out the NVIDIA event tomorrow.
Yeah.
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 Oh, yeah.
No, that's
Is,
tomorrow.
The
Is that
CEO of NVIDIA is going to show up and
Oh, yeah.
say something.
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Something. Or
I'm really
bankrupt.
hoping.
I did not know that, but I am now intrigued.
1180?
Yeah, I don't know. What time? I think it's like
6?
yeah, it's later in the day. It's like 4 o'clock.
1180? At 1180? That's when it's
Oh
gonna be?
yeah, I don't know.
That's not a
I don't-
time.
No, I don't know if that's
1180
what
is
I
not a
don't.
time.
I know what he's saying now. It took me a second. Thank you.
Cheers.
No, I don't know if that's really what. I don't know, but there's 3 other speakers.
Is
Right.
Jules
And the
Jules
only-
speaking then
No.
as well?
So
No.
one
He's
of the
Tuesday.
only third. So 3 speakers. The only one that I knew is Adrian, who's working on Arnold GPU.
Oh.
So I don't know. We'll see.
All right.
Okay. Tomorrow's gonna be a big day.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
I don't know. It could just be.
Could be a regular
who
day.
knows?
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Well-
You may want to just keep an eye on Twitter.
I'm gonna go there.
I want to go to there.
onto the Twitter.
I have all the parts to build a system at home, and it has 3 blank spaces in it for something.
Oh yeah, and get this right. So they just released the new Threadrippers,
Yeah.
like
The day my
4 or
old one
5
showed
days.
up.
Yeah, the day his old version
Lame.
showed up
Yeah.
from Amazon.
Yeah.
I don't mean to laugh. at your-
Did you find the Kubernetes?
I found the Kubernetes.
Did they have them in some road cases? Or
Yeah,
something?
there was a bunch of NVIDIA road cases that held all the Kubernetes.
Okay.
So,
All right. We finally found them. And we got selfies. So
boy.
what else? There's an AMD booth. It's huge.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
Wait, I
the-
didn't see that.
it's right
No,
behind
it's
us.
right behind
Oh,
us.
you
Yeah,
haven't been down to the
I
floor
haven't
yet.
been
yeah,
down to the
yeah.
floor yet.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
How long
I
have you
don't know
been
what
here?
they're gonna
You've been
have
here
on
all
display.
day.
Yesterday.
Yeah, but you should at least come down.
I
to
had
the booth.
other things to do.
Okay.
Ah, yeah.
In Vancouver.
I was gonna say, apparently by Slag, you've just been looking for coffee all day.
Coffee, yeah, that's right.
Which he did give a good recommendation. I also had it. I forgot to tell you.
All right, coffee boy.
So what other things? There's a lot of VR. There's a lot of AR going on. There's apparently another section that I haven't even seen yet that has all the VR AR stuff.
Yeah, I went and
don't
checked
know.
it out.
Yeah,
What
how is
did you
it?
see there?
Saw some cool things. They're trying to do some. So I don't know if anyone knows. I work at the Void full time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty awesom. Shout out to the Void. Go check it out. Thank you. And they had some cool things like doing like haptics on the fingers, trying to simulate, like you're touching things, which was pretty cool. So we did
Yeah.
some of that. It's still kind of work in progress, but there was a lot of just
Did you actually have feedback?
yeah,
Like,
there was some haptic feedback
some,
in
like,
the
pressure
fingers,
or
some pressure,
something?
yeah,
That's
a little
cool.
bit. But I've seen other ways of doing it where they have like a band over your finger, so that when you grab at a certain point, it
Oh.
actually resists. And
Uh-huh.
I felt like that way has worked better. The haptics, like just kind of like pulsing your fingers, didn't quite do it. But
Okay.
they had another cool thing that you guys could go check out, where you have one of your friends wear the VR headset, and then like you go with a buddy, and they wear a backpack with literally a robot on your back, and whoever's controlling the VR like handles, it will control the robot.
Okay.
I'm dead serious. So like wherever your head moves in the VR, the robot's head will move. And then if you move your hands with the remotes, the robot hand move. I don't know what.
like
Like
Master
I asked him, I was like, what applications
so,
does this
like,
have?
The robot is on your
they're
back,
like-
so literally
Mars
you could be
exploration.
punching
Yeah,
the
no,
person
really.
who's carrying you.
Well, then they walked it over by me, and I was able to give myself a massage
Oh.
with the robot.
Oh, there you
But
go.
like, so obviously,
I can think of some
yes.
very
Oh
good things
my.
we could do
right,
with that.
That could go
but
south real quick.
Yeah.
Literally.
Oh boy, yeah. I don't know what the applications of that would be.
Mars exploration.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Sure, we'll
oh
go-
yeah,
we'll go
VR.
with
We're
that.
gonna think
Yeah.
of the shoulders.
Yep. Back scratching. That's what it's for. Anyway, there's other cool things in the VR stuff, but yeah, you should go check it
I
out.
remember one time at the Emerging Technologies booth, It was around the time when Star Wars, the crappy versions came out, you know, and so that was like all the buzz, whatever. We're sitting there in emerging.
Gonna die?
In emerging technologies, there was a thing there where you could put these headphones on someone, and a person with a remote control could essentially put a tone into those headphones and offset your equilibrium and steer you as a person.
That's horrifying.
Really?
And so
my gosh.
it was freaky and weird, and like everybody that did it was like almost like they were drunk, like. But so I'm standing there like just chilling out, watching people like fall over each other doing this thing, and all of a sudden I noticed like these gigantic bodyguard type guys walking around me, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? And I see George Lucas like walking behind them. So George Lucas and Dennis Muren show up, and I think, if I remember correctly, George Lucas steered Dennis Muren. Like Dennis Muren got on the headphones and like steered him around using this device, and it was the trippiest thing I've ever seen the scene.
Oh wow!
No, I need to
That's
check
crazy.
that out. They need to bring that back.
It was
It
off-putting.
is now illegal.
Yeah, it's kind of
I'm
creepy.
pretty
You
sure-
tried it out?
No, hell no, I would not.
No.
I would not try that out. Never.
No.
No.
So
I'd get vomitous.
Yeah.
what about AR? What about AR? What's going on in that world? Because didn't Leap Motion just
Yeah, they
announce
announced.
a
Yeah,
developer's
yeah.
kit? It's
like-
expensive though.
$3,000 for their dev kit, I think. But like that's it's the same as the HoloLens dev kit from what I've seen.
Yeah.
So it's like, and they're kind of the same thing. I don't know. From what I've heard, Leap Motion, and I could be totally wrong here. This could just be bar banter, but like they just had so much money from people who were just like, this looks awesome, let's throw money at them, that they didn't know what to do with it, you know. And so I don't know.
Damn, that's a problem I wish I had.
Oh yeah, not Leap
Yeah,
Motion.
right?
Yeah, Jason said not Leap Motion, Magic Leap.
Magic
Leap.
Leap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't Leap Motion like some?
That's the hand.
That's the
thing.
hand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was
Yeah.
like. Oh no, I'm thinking of
Get up in there.
Leapfrog. The kids
Leap.
thing.
Yeah, Brandon, we haven't heard from you at all.
Yeah, I got a close friend who works at Magic Leap. I'll let you know.
Okay.
Oh man,
Sure,
Yeah.
sweet.
Well, I will say that I think AR's got more legs than VR
Oh, yeah.
as far as the reach of population. So I think, if that's the direction the industry's going to go, you don't think so?
No, I think
I do.
think
I
AR's
totally
got
do. He
a
doesn't.
really long way to go.
Well, it has a
Yeah, it
long way
does.
to go, but VR is so secluded. AR is like everyday life you can incorporate.
Yeah, but, well, you can, but still, like, you still have to wait. You have to have a way in order to see it, other than your phone. You know, not
Yeah, of
everyone
course.
is going to
Well,
be
that's the whole
walking
point.
around with their phone like this.
No,
It's-
Have you been in the world?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, everybody is walking around
Yeah, I
with their phone
mean,
like that.
pretty
Yeah.
much everybody is
Yeah.
looking at their phone all the time.
Right, but I don't think it's gonna be. It would be awkward to be walking it
Yeah.
around like
but they're
up
gonna make
high,
that
being able
more-
to try. Like
Yeah.
me
doable.
personally, if I'm going to experience any sort of AR thing, it has to be in some sort of goggles or glasses or something, and they have to not look like anything but my normal glasses.
Yeah.
I think that'll come. I mean, what's the popular show? Glass.
Friends.
Black. Black Mirror, right? Black Mirror on Netflix.
Okay.
They've done something similar to that, right? Where you're walking around, it's recording, it's visualizing,
Yeah.
it's giving you data into what you're seeing, things like that.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Oh,
it's
gosh,
almost like a
man.
contact lens or something built into your perception, right?
Black
I think
Mirror's so
that's
messed
where
up.
AR
God
is
help us
going to
all.
go, though.
That's sad.
It is, but
Yeah.
I mean, is that not where it's going? Doesn't everyone already do that, but in a very uncomfortable way?
Well, we were
Everyone's
talking
standing
about it
around-
this morning. You walk into McDonald's and there's no menu anymore. It's like,
all-
hey, I know you like the McGriddle.
Yeah.
You know you wanted a McGriddle.
Yeah.
It's only 99 cents.
Now here's a question. Once AR gets to that point where they already know who you are and they're advertising to you specifically, do you think they're going to change the price per person? Like,
Ooh.
we know this
Ooh.
person
Yeah.
eats
Nice
a lot
one.
of McDonald's, so like we're going to only charge them, or we're going to charge them more because we know they're coming here, so
That
we
is
can make
very
more money
evil,
off
and
them.
I think
no,
you're
I
right.
talk to other people. You have no
Hey,
other
you-
friends. You're not going to talk to anyone else, so the price will stay higher for you.
Right.
I'll say
Ah.
this: if you guys listen to the Future podcast, or just the Future, right? They talk about
listen to the
charging.
I've been to
They
the
talk
Future.
about charging clients more that can pay more, right?
Yeah.
Charging
Yeah.
a company
Yeah.
like Amazon, so why wouldn't they do it for?
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
it's illegal.
I mean,
maybe.
I guess. Is
There's a
it?
little thing called.
Yeah, but think about this. Like you
law.
you have
We do it.
you get emails,
that's
you know, personalized emails from something like, you know, Overstock.com or Wayfair or something. No, this is because I've been shopping for couches, where they are specialized for you, saying, you know, 20% off, blah blah blah, in order to try and get you in to shop with them. What's going to stop AR from you're walking by McDonald's and you see a coupon pop up that says, hey, save
That already
50 cents.
happens though. Like that already is happening.
Exactly.
Like,
I think-
So like people are going to be paying less for food or more for food based on, you know, their personal preferences and stuff like
I don't
that.
know. I mean, that already happens based on geolocation. I mean,
Yep.
you're served ads
Google
everywhere.
searches,
Yeah, exactly.
search
Like,
them.
Yeah.
it knows when you've been to Ace Hardware, and it's gonna serve
if you
up-
talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Yeah.
Now
that's not
oh
true.
dude, I'm gonna get
know.
ads for
That's
Ace
no,
Hardware.
don't
You
even,
said
like,
it.
you sound like my wife. Like,
Oh
that-
boy! Like, we were talking about pets and
No,
pet things. I saw a whole
that
video
is
on it.
not-
It's real.
That's not actually true. It's real. It's not true. A
Government's
lot
watching.
of people like to believe that it's true, but it's actually based on things that you've searched, places you've been,
Right.
you know, things that you've talked about. If you've given them
Talked
any,
about, yeah.
and well, not talked about in terms of like your
Yeah,
voice.
you got it. You
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
All right. All right.
All I hear is digging a hole.
Yeah. No. I swear to God.
Yeah, so it's
Hold on, let
basically
me put on my tinfoil hat.
Yeah.
so there's basically a difference between like targeted marketing and then like charging someone else a completely different price than the person next to them. So
Yeah, so I'm just saying, like, AR is going to be very targeted now. If
Yeah,
they can
yeah,
see
targeted
every
market,
single
yes,
ad
totally.
and like track your eyeballs to where they know where you're looking. Dude,
Yeah.
yeah, that's super
and then there's
scary.
companies who track it and sell it to
Uh-huh.
to the people who need it.
They're doing that to the ancestry places. You see that right now?
Oh,
the
yeah.
ancestry, when you do a DNA test or whatever.
Oh,
now
yeah.
they're selling that to pharmaceutical companies who are tracking the drugs and trying to create
They did-
something for people.
Your insurance will be higher if your
Yeah.
DNA is a certain
So
way. It's going to be great.
It's all gonna happen. It's all happening. Everyone's selling all their data
Let's
somewhere
change
else.
this. I'm getting too depressed.
Yeah, what about
know what you're
SIGGRAPH?
saying.
What
Yeah.
else
We're
are
talking
we
about
looking-
computer graphics.
Well, the future of SIGGRAPH is looking gloomy.
So Kubernetes is going to be kind of depressing.
No, I'm sweating.
So what else is there? I saw some Google stuff. Otoy has a booth there. I saw Otoy. has a
Yeah,
booth.
okay, I got to give a big shout out to Otoy because they
big
really
booth.
stepped it up this year.
It's a big booth.
Like,
Yes.
it is
Yeah,
a
that's a lot for
monster
you to
booth.
say that.
Yeah. You know, I was a little upset after
Yeah,
last
I
year,
know.
you know, but they
Why?
really stepped it up. I think,
Just
I
for
would
you.
like to say, no, I honestly think that I might have had a little bit of say in it, you know,
Hey.
whatever. But no, like, they've got these giant, like, 8 of these giant screens all across,
It's
a
17K.
huge booth.
It's 17K. Is
Yeah.
what they said.
haven't seen it.
Yeah. And so they've got animations from Ariev and Zach Korzine and stuff, and like just these gorgeous renders and stuff. And like, I'm interested to see. I don't know. I'm a little nervous because I saw an iMac up there, and I'm really worried that they're going to do the same thing they did last year and just put it out and be like, all right. And they've got these spots for what I'm assuming are iPads, and I don't know where they're going with it, but they've got beautiful imagery, which is at least a start.
Is anybody speaking? Is there like a podium? Is
I
there
don't know.
gonna be artists?
I don't know. I don't think so because I didn't see any like speakers or anything like that. You know,
Okay.
like we've got.
Schedule or any kind of.
No,
Yeah.
they just had a lot of empty iPad slots.
Yeah, I was a little worried about
Or
that.
maybe
So
they're
iPads
Surface
will
Pro
be speaking.
slots. Could be, right? Why not?
They're showing off that render tokens can be rendered using iPads, right?
maybe.
Yeah,
I don't
probably.
know.
Yeah, that's- I think they might because they were talking about that. They were saying anything could be a device on the network. Even
Either
if it
way, it's
makes
a
it
one
beautiful,
day.
it's a beautiful display they have.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
gorgeous.
It's
It's
very
a
good.
very
So
nice display.
What kind of displays were they? Do you know?
They were 8K displays.
Well,
I was like,
There was
oh,
like
like
probably
together
like
as one giant image.
65-inch 8K, 4 and then 4. So is
Yeah.
2 high, 4 across. It's gorgeous. You'll see it.
Yeah.
You'll see it.
I think everything's just going metal, like completely with Apple. Like
Yeah.
all there's,
agree.
like all their devices are just gonna have like their
Metal
graphics
all the
library will be metal for everything, and then you'll see iMacs running like what we see now as like iOS. Like I think the whole like Mac OS ecosystem is eventually just gonna like the mobile software will just be so robust that they'll just start consolidating that.
I don't know. I feel like
I thought you were
we've been-
joking. Actually, I was like,
I
was like,
no,
yeah,
no.
metal.
No. I know. I'm literally talking. Literally talking.
Tongue out.
Yeah, dude. Fucking about time we start talking about metal.
No, literally talking exclusively about the graphics library. I think that's going to be...
I disagree. We've been making that argument for years, though. You know that.
Well, that was OpenCL. This is.
Yeah, this is...
Yeah, no, I've been like you're talking about basically the iOS and the OS X, you know, becoming one, right?
Like having the same graphics library.
I think they're merging, but I don't know. Operating
Wasn't that
systems are
question
both.
asked actually? That they were not going to merge the two?
I don't know. Actually,
I believe it was at WDC. Maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. But yeah, I could have swore that was the case. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, they definitely. I mean, Apple does not care about motion designers.
No.
No, they started
Yes.
that way.
And definitely not visual effects artists.
No, they don't care about VFX artists at all.
Kills Jake.
I think they've actually started to a little bit more than they had a year ago.
Bro, Drew's getting paid by Apple.
I'm not.
Hold on. Are you talking about like the external GPUs?
They've reached out. They've reached out to a couple people in the industry.
Yeah.
And I think they would like to get back a little bit. There's some smart people still there, or now there, and I know for a fact that they've reached out. They've talked to people, Skype chatted, asked what they can do. I may or may not be any of those people.
Yeah, I see where this is headed.
No, but to me, that means everything. A company that obviously we all love. Everyone loves Apple, but we have a love-hate. I have a love-hate relationship with them. I've loved them. I grew up with them, designed with them at least, right? And then it got to a spot where I was like, you know what? They're not catering to us anymore. They don't care about us anymore. And then I'm always willing to allow the door to open if someone knocks on it and says, hey, we want to try to correct this. What do you need? What do you want? What are we missing?
I'll be different this time. I promise.
It's like an abusive relationship.
Come back, please.
And
It is an abusive relationship.
It probably
No,
is,
that
right?
that is a good metaphor. It is totally an abusive relationship.
Yeah,
Because
I
they're
mean,
like,
that's what I
we're
don't
gonna give you.
understand.
No,
It's
we're
like-
really gonna give you a Mac Pro this time.
I
No,
know.
oh, sorry. No, we're
Swears
really.
last time I cheated on you.
Yeah, no, we're actually gonna give you
Everybody needs
Nvidia
to
cards.
realize
this
that
time. No.
Apple just wants to be your friend. They don't want a relationship.
Yeah. Friend
Yeah.
zone. Friend zone.
Friend zone.
Yeah,
Always.
friend zone.
That's why I switched to PC. It's been the best decision of my life.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, me
Professional.
Of your
Yeah.
life?
Of my life.
Yeah, well.
I'm like, holy crap.
I thought you were wearing a ring.
I'm like,
maybe
we need
I'm
to get
wrong.
you a more exciting life. Guys, I don't have a lot of goals in life. I gotta start changing things up.
You know, you haven't seen his PC though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Just
there we go.
saying.
Just
Must be
saying,
pretty
have you
baller.
seen it? Yeah, it's pretty sick.
Does it come with lingerie?
That is one sexy PC.
I think.
Oh, I know. The other thing I'm looking forward to is the Redshift stuff, because I have seen on their forum they're coming out with the post effects. I'm sure you can talk about that.
I've been playing with those.
And it looks, everything I saw looks awesome.
So I was anti post effects for a long time.
Yeah.
Because, you know, being doing post, man, like, you know, that's just something that you don't do.
Yeah.
And you don't bake it in. Come on, man. You got to keep yourself flexible.
Yep.
But then I started playing with it, man, and oh my god.
It looks,
It's addictive.
I bake every.
I'm like-
it just doesn't do blooms. It does like lens, like
Yeah, it does flares, blooms, LUTs, and even including our GSG Gorilla Grade LUTs.
Hey,
Plug. and shameless. But yeah, and like I find
Any
myself
coupons
like
for those this week?
yeah, maybe. But yeah, I'll load like a LUT in. I'll bring like a bloom in there, maybe a little bit of flare, and it's like I'm like, dude, this looks fantastic.
I know.
It's super fun.
Yeah, I tried to get on the inside club. I didn't get in. I wanted to. I was trying to get the.
It's weird. It's like I can't get into it, but it'll be soon.
Okay.
Yeah, Josh, you were showing off our 20 Redshift, right?
I was, yeah. I mean, it's early version, so it's not it's not fully optimized yet for you know, R20, especially when it comes to the multi instances.
Yeah,
but
I was gonna say the fact that they're actually like included right now. That's
I was
pretty
gonna
cool.
say, but the
Yeah.
fact that everything is working and the multi instances are rendering, and I rendered
Yeah.
like 3 million of them a couple days ago. It was like
Yes.
390 billion polygons.
Yeah.
Didn't crash, and
Wow.
like it was working and stuff. So it's only gonna get better.
Yeah.
From here on out, and I was just impressed that I already have a working version. So
Yeah.
that's you know that's a great sign, I think, for the users, for people that use Redshift on an everyday basis and in a production environment. The fact that, you know, it updates that fast is just amazing.
Yeah.
And the post effects do look really cool.
Yeah,
I'm excited to use them.
Yeah, the post effects are interesting because they happen in real time. So like that's what's
that's
really
right.
like crazy to me. It's like it's happening in the frame buffer, and you can just adjust it real time and just sort of like art direct it and be like, yeah, that looks cool. Yeah, maybe a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And like that sort of like tactile feel when you're just dragging a slider and seeing it bloom, it's like, oh man, this is pretty cool. Like I didn't want to admit it, but it's cool.
So can you render them out as like separate AOVs? Like, because I know that like Octane does do like the post effects separately. You can separate them. Can you do it in Redshift?
That the last version that I had, you could not save them, and you could not render them to your image, but that is planned.
Okay.
So you'll have an ability to be like, oh yeah, I want these in there, or I do not want them in there. But that's an important thing because as an artist in production, I want that ability to art direct and sort of look develop with it. But when I render, maybe I don't want it baked in, or maybe I want a version with it and without it, so that I can A/B it and be like, okay, well, the client didn't like this part. I don't have to re-render. I can just go back and redo this one little thing. So that's super important. And I think that you're going to see I think you're going to see all the renderers jump on this post effects bandwagon, as much as I think a lot of people like to crap on it, including me months ago. Yeah, there's a little bit of a thing there, but yeah, I think that you're going to see that happening because it is like very useful for a look dev artist to be able to be like, okay, I want a flare here. I'm gonna dial it in just the way I want it, and I don't want to have to like spit it out, bring it in Nuke, Fusion, After Effects, whatever. Like it's super useful.
That's exciting.
So I haven't used the post effects yet, but just what Chad was talking about, it makes sense because really when you think about it, when using Redshift, you get to look dev on the fly with the GPU renderer. So why not do it in the post side of things too a little bit? Because you can play with like, isn't there curves or like a levels control as well?
There's full curves.
So you have all that with flares and, you know, curves, and you can throw a LUT in there. It makes a lot of sense to, you know, maybe if it's not even the final image, maybe it is for certain things. It just makes a lot of sense
if you're doing boards or pitching, like that's what I see a big use for it. Like if I'm banging out board frames and I just need to get a look really fast, I don't have to jump into a comper. I can do it right there and like either like save it directly from there or just like really super like quick and dirty screenshot it even and like just like put it in a deck and be like there it is. Like that's useful.
Hasn't Octane been already doing this though, except for like the lens flare? I've seen the lens flare stuff, which is super rad. I think Merc, he kind of came up with like some kind of cool plugin too for Redshift or whatever. But like
Merc is Kubernetes.
Is it really all that new?
Yeah.
Well, altogether it is. I think they hired they hired a developer specifically for the post effects. So they're taking it really seriously in the fact that it's got LUTs built in, which you can do in Octane as well, but you have to do it in a completely sort of different way. And I haven't used the Octane one in a while, but I don't believe the Octane one is a post effect, isn't it? Is it? Like it doesn't happen.
I think it's just a camera effect, right?
Right. Yeah. So it's not something that's happening like on the fly. Like, oh, let me just dial this.
Pretty much on the fly though.
But
you can
it happens.
Toggle through them.
Right, but you're not gonna be able to like your render's not done.
Nope.
Whereas this is like your render is done.
Okay.
Your render is done, and then it's like imagine like you had a real time list of effects in After Effects, and you were just like toggling through them. Like your render's done. Like you're just like, oh, let me flare it. Oh, yeah, the threshold needs to be lower. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Like
I will say though, for
it's
me,
super
at least the
interactive.
speed in Octane, not to get into it, but the speed in Octane. Honestly, we're talking fractions of a second, if that. I don't care if the render's done or not. I literally hit the down arrow key through the tab, and it's so like render done or not, it's real time.
Well,
no matter how heavy my machine is, essentially.
But you have a pretty robust machine though.
Yeah. That's what I said. Didn't I say
Yeah.
my machine?
Yeah, but I mean, like, you're right. That in your case, that might be the same. It might be a wash for you.
Yeah.
To like do it in Redshift or do it in Octane. But for a lot of people out there that only have one GPU, maybe just 2 GPUs, and maybe not great GPUs, that ability to render the frame and then be able to walk through all that look, like that's pretty useful.
It sounds great. It just sounds more like a catch-up with a plus to me. Sounds
I don't
like,
know. A catch-up. I think a catch-up with a catch-up. I don't think both of them are catch-ups. First of all, like that post effect has been in V-Ray for years. I mean, it's
Yeah.
been a thing.
Yeah, V-Ray
Yeah.
So
represent.
it's
cool. Yeah.
It's not really a catch-up. It's a user-requested feature with
Oh.
Redshift, right? I mean, that's what it was, right? Like everyone on the Redshift forum wanted it
I
so
think
that
yeah,
Costas and the team.
But that doesn't really make sense. User requested feature, if it's something in another software already, I mean, you can call it what you want, but someone else had it, and then whether it's requested
Yeah, but
or
it also
not-
has features that Octane doesn't, like the lens distortion
No, I
effects
agree.
and like the
I said that
it's-
too, right?
Yeah.
The lens distortion is
Or the
ridiculous.
it's
sick.
crazy the flares.
There's,
and stuff.
there's definitely pluses to
Yeah.
it, but you're looking at something and saying, how do we take this and just make it better?
Isn't
Yeah.
somebody going to be able to write
Innovate.
something in OSL that could do that potentially? Though the lens distortion.
Yeah,
and all
I mean,
that?
Well, are you talking about lens distortion or lens flares?
lens flares.
Because that's a
Yeah.
completely
Flares.
like
Or
sort of
maybe
different.
both in OSL.
Well,
I
yeah,
don't know.
you could absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know about the flare so much, but definitely the lens distortion.
The flare is awesome, though.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
And then you can
looking.
get like scratch lens. You can do. I mean, you can do
Yeah.
anything. It's like limitless. It was nasty.
anything.
It's
It's pretty
yeah.
rad. Yeah.
It's like all this stuff that you want to do in post to make your stuff look more
Yeah.
realistic. Now it's real time in 3D.
Yeah.
Just so you don't have to go into After Effects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, which, as EJ says,
It's like going into a
the
truck
truck
stop bathroom.
You want to get in and out as fast
Does
as
that,
you can.
does that hurt your heart, Chad?
What's that?
You love compositing.
Oh, I love
I do
compositing.
love compositing. I hate After Effects.
I hate
Fusion.
I'm Nuke. Nuke Club.
No, he's not a
Fusion.
bad guy.
Yeah,
Fusion,
I don't have 10 grand.
I mean, my company paid for it, so
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
the 1080p one, and I learned on it, and then I got hired. And I was like, I need Nuke, and they're like, well, okay.
No, I mean, it's
love
not that I
Nuke.
don't
Fusion's
like
great, too.
Nuke. It's
Yeah.
just
It's
that
the price tag.
I don't.
Totally.
So you know me, man. I'm about the company. If the company's
Yes.
not cool,
That's true.
Yes.
then
Is the Foundry
I'm
not cool?
no.
No.
They've been great to
It's
me.
Foundry, man. They've like
Be
sued,
careful, the Foundry
they've
is
sued
right
friends
next to
of mine.
our.
Oh,
Yeah.
holy cow!
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah. We had a
Yeah.
friend get sued for
No
it.
Yeah.
way. Why?
Yeah.
For what?
Pirating
Pirates.
software.
Okay,
Piracy.
yeah.
But it's not even
Reasons.
that. It's like a
Yeah.
lot of these situations are
Yeah.
not that. I mean, of course, I'm not. I'm anti-piracy, of course. But
Yeah.
it's yeah. I don't agree with them, and I don't like their company. But I'm a Fusion guy. God,
Yeah.
I'm drunk.
Yeah?
Yeah, no,
Nuke is pretty rad though.
No, I mean, Nuke
if I
has some
learn
great
Fusion,
features. Yeah, I mean, dude, like, forget it. Like, Nuke has some features that I absolutely wish Fusion
Yeah.
had. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But, sorry, go ahead.
Have you tried the Resolve beta yet with Fusion?
Yeah, that's where it's headed.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that's exciting because
Yeah.
now what's going to happen with Resolve and Fusion
Yeah, I have looked
becoming
at that.
part of Resolve
Yes.
is that's going to open up a VFX pipeline
Totally.
to independent filmmakers all around the world that
Yeah.
would not have access to Nuke
Yeah.
because of its price.
You're totally right.
And that to me is exciting because independent filmmakers are now going to get a chance to do world-class effects without having to pay that
Right.
insane overhead. But there are things that obviously I'm envious about Nuke. Like there's just things that I wish I had, but there's things that I've just gotten to used to in Fusion. And once you kind of understand how Fusion works, Fusion being not a scanline renderer, so it's
Yeah.
faster in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
I explain it to people like this. Nuke is Nuke is like it's like the tortoise and the hare, right? Nuke is really great at if you throw a lot of stuff at it, it's going to always react the same way. It's going to be that scan line going brip, brip, you know, like working through that shit, no problem.
Yeah.
And like Fusion is a bit more like you got a pretty slender scene, I'm gonna be fast
got
as
you.
hell.
Yeah.
And if you got a heavy scene, I'm gonna be kind of slow.
Yeah.
Like, and if you're cool with that and you're like you understand it, then you're like, all right, this works.
Yep.
And it's not a scanline render, so it's gonna be a little bit faster in that regard. But it also doesn't have some of the really unique, crazy stuff that Nuke has. But I mean, for that price point though, like
For sure.
it's like-
No, it is interesting that Blackmagic is putting it in DaVinci, because even myself, like, so I was a huge like Adobe everything. Like I was probably like 2 years ago I was just Premiere, After Effects, and once I switched to node-based compositing, it was like can't go back.
Yeah.
Like it changed. It completely changed the way I started compositing.
And it should, because that's how everybody should be doing
Yeah,
it.
it makes way more sense. It's like you don't have to go like pre-comp, layers.
Yeah.
And
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like a node-based compositor, like
Yeah.
the most important lesson, if you take nothing from this crazy ass podcast that we're doing right now, take this: that if you haven't dabbled in nodes, whether it's compositing, materials, whatever, do it now.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's,
totally.
Because
it's coming.
learning how to
It's coming
learning
for
how to
everything.
learning
Oh,
how
yeah.
to know learning how to composite with Nuke, Fusion, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's like
Yeah.
you're learning the same techniques, same principles. That is going to carry through to your shader work. It's going to carry through to all of your work. And I tell people this all the time. You learn how to composite, you learn the fundamental ideas of compositing, then you will make better shaders.
Yeah.
You will make better work, and you will be a more well-rounded artist.
100%.
I
You'll be a
completely
better
agree with
individual.
Chad
Yeah.
on that. I come from a visual effects background, started in compositing way before I touched anything 3D, and I don't really consider myself an amazing 3D artist by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think that my compositing helps me make more realistic shaders, more realistic renders, all the way around. It helps me. I still use After Effects, but I mostly use Nuke now. I've used Fusion too, which I love. If I didn't invest in Nuke a few years ago on a movie, I would have Fusion for sure.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yep.
really, it's more about just the node-based learning of
Totally.
that and letting
there-
that carry over.
And there's definitely like, because like Fusion is going to be a part of DaVinci, because even I've opened it up and I was like, man, this is going to be so convenient, and people are going to start jumping on that node-based composite.
Yeah.
And even for me, like I was saying, I don't use Premiere anymore to edit. Like I am 100% all in DaVinci now. Like
Yeah.
I do all my edits and coloring, everything in DaVinci.
Yes.
And so I sometimes even feel the temptation to just be like, well, might as well learn Fusion
I
as
can
well,
do a
because
green
it's all in
screen.
all in
Yes, I
here.
know, that's
And
how
so it's
they-
like I don't
that's
have to
how they get you.
leave. And so
Definitely.
Blackmagic, I think, has made a incredibly smart move
Yeah.
by kind of taking that whole market. Like, oh, we have a really good solid editor. We have the best coloring system, and now we have a node-based compositor. Like, what else do you want?
Yeah, and for motion designers, I think it's going to be a little bit easier to bridge that gap, because you have like
Yeah.
a really easy timeline, like with DaVinci, and then you can have like certain comps lined up in your timeline. It makes that a lot easier. And the support for like Alembic and FBX inside of Fusion is like super, super helpful, because you can extract depth from your images like
Dude.
right out of the gate.
Yeah, I'll tell you a quick story about, and I don't want to spend too much time on the Nuke thing, but so when I was at a studio, we were evaluating Nuke because just so many freelancers knew it. We just we had to evaluate it, and we were Fusion just because of I already knew it. It was cheap, whatever. And so a Nuke artist came in and demoed it. And he's like, here's Nuke, like this is what you need to be using. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I'm down to try it. I mean, at this point, I need freelancers that know any node-based compositor, so I'm down. And so he went through a spiel, and then I said, okay, well, here's my thing. I have some 4K red footage, and I can hit the space bar, and it plays like real time, and I can blur it, and I can color correct it like in real time. Can I do that in Nuke? Can you show me that? And he could not do it. And he's like, well, okay, well, you're not doing this quite right. And, well, how are you using this? And I would say, well, okay, well, how about this? I do a lot of motion design work, and like sometimes I just want to, throw a quick gradient on a background and drop some 3D over it and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, you're not doing it right. And I'm like, well, what am I not doing right? He's like, well, you're not using it the way that, and I'm like, what? I'm being a motion designer? Like, I'm actually being creative with my tool? Like, this is what I want out of it. And he's like, yeah, that's just not what this is. And I'm like, well, then it's not what I want, And really, if you know Nuke, great. Yeah. But you can be more, and I will fight to the nail on this. Like, you can be more creative in Fusion than you can in Nuke as a designer.
Yeah.
And that's because Nuke is an A over B. Let me get this stuff done, and I respect it for that. And the film industry has proven that. But if I'm creating, I'm designing, I'm being experimental, I want to screw around, I want to bring in geometry, particles, whatever, and I just want that ability to iterate and just mess around, I can't get that in Nuke the way that I can in Fusion.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's like, however you use it, if you're compositing A over B, doing green screen, 3D reconstructions, whatever, Nuke is your thing, go for it, you know, but it's just find what works and just do it. You know?
just don't understand Nuke.
I just don't get it. You just don't That's what it was like. It was like it was such a weird moment. Like
you just don't understand it on as many levels as I do.
And no, it's interesting. I would say you guys are
the
both
colors.
right. Because yeah, you're totally right, and Nuke's not designed for that, so that's not really designed for you. So why try to waste your time working with it?
And
It's just not. Coming from using After Effects a lot too, and then doing some motion design work, but mostly visual effects stuff. Just even sometimes in Nuke, I'll get a little frustrated with footage, like, oh yeah, crap, I got to like go into After Effects for this or something. It's just not. I mean, it's really well suited for high-end feature film compositing.
Yep.
Right.
And that's kind of what it's built for.
And Rate Zero
that's
says
what it works.
it's hard to find Fusion freelancers though, but
It's
that's
impossible.
But that's
it's
the
actually
thing, like,
impossible.
Well, there
Why
you
not?
go,
But-
dude.
Like,
That's
dude,
like
like,
your
that's
market
why
right
that's
there.
why
I should pick up Fusion.
that's exactly why I evaluated Nuke, was because I was at a studio, we're using Fusion, which I had to teach everybody how to use, and then a big job would come in, and the producers would be like, well, nobody knows Fusion, and I'd be like, I know, this sucks. And
That guy sounds just like the salesman.
Yeah.
yeah,
sound the same.
and so like it was like it was rough though, because what I found is that I would almost rather bring in an After Effects compositor, because they were more skilled in sort of creative problem solving, the comp, than some of the most
After Effects isn't working.
right, and they're just like used to like going around this way to do that or whatever, and it just and what ended up happening was Fusion ended up having free network rendering, and we had a gigantic farm, so it just was like,
Oh,
dude, we
wow.
got it, like
Oh,
we
that's
had
rad.
like 100 nodes,
Yeah.
and like what would that cost in Nuke? I don't even know what the nodes are. But like you could render like ridiculous resolutions in minutes.
That's awesome.
Because of that, and
It works great with Deadline too.
Yeah, that's how we used it. We used it with
Fusion.
Deadline. Yeah.
Fusion with
All right.
Deadline is saved my
No
ass
reason to
today.
buy it.
Oh, really?
Today?
Yeah,
Dude,
so
like,
for the
That's why you're
past,
sweaty.
well, there's a lot of reasons why I'm sweaty, but so for about the past month, I was brought on to do some creative development work. There was some graphics for Papers Fast Forward that was coming through, and they were kind of behind on some stuff, so I started
That's
doing
a
some more.
SIGGRAPH thing, right?
Yeah, it's a SIGGRAPH thing. It just happened tonight. That's why I'm so sweaty. But all day today, we were problem solving with LED wristbands that was DMX controlled through my DMX buddy, and it was all kind of pre-queued this show. And we were trying to just get like iterations out of this 15-minute long animation that I'd done.
Is it wireless DMX or is it IR DMX? Like,
Could you go into more depth of what the two are? Because I'm very vaguely familiar with the two.
okay, when I did the Oprah tour, we had wristbands that were in the audience, but they were controlled through DMX that released IR to certain sections of the audience, as opposed to
Not as elegant as that. It's actually like it was more like a radio frequency, and I'm not sure if that's the like.
that might be better, really, because you can address them and all of that.
Yes, so we had zones sectioned out A through whatever letter, and we could run like wave effects and different like sparkle effects for different parts. So Munu comes to me this morning. She's like, who's the creative development chair, and she's like, hey, that version you sent out last night looks great, but we want to change the background on this like 7 minutes or whatever at the beginning. And I was like, all right, I'm going to log into my, network at home and just kind of VP'd in and set everything up to go with Fusion. Just copied the nodes over to the different comps that blended together well, and just sent it to Deadline. And I was, pretty much just waiting for that to happen, and that was pretty quick. So, I mean, it really saved my ass today, like Deadline did.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Deadline.
Always,
So
it
nice.
always saves my ass.
Yeah.
You got like
I
three
miss that.
you got like 3 projects going on at once. You can delegate your resources and manage everything so much more efficiently.
I'm sold.
I got one.
We ran
Yeah,
everything.
I have
We ran
a
After Effects
The
through
deadline tutorial?
yeah, I have an intro to
Yeah.
Deadline.
Oh, heck
Yeah, you did that what
I
3 or 4
think-
months ago, I think, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to watch it.
Yeah.
Here's something that
um,
I just found out about Deadline that I was totally impressed about. Like, you can actually send renders to individual cards.
Yes, you can do GPU
Yeah.
affinities
Yeah.
and CPU affinities. So you can actually, I'll try to do my best. But there's like a feature list in Deadline that, I mean, I've only scratched the surface. Like it's so deep. And everyone who's like a freelance artist or works in a small group of team, you have to have a render management software because you have to offload that from your animation package. So you can keep animating and you just let it go and it just happens. You can monitor it. The logs are amazing. So if something goes down on one frame, you know exactly why it happened on that one frame and re-queue it, you know, once you fix the problem and resubmit the job. But I'm going to try to break down the whole SIGGRAPH papers fast forward, like either maybe on Cineversity or maybe on YouTube or, yeah, because I use Cycles 4D to, and X Particles for the entire project. So
Really?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, dude, you should do some breakdown. That'd be rad.
yeah, I would love to. But
What do you think? Raid Zero brought this up in the chat. What do you think about the free version of Nuke? And what
The
are the
1080p?
limitations?
I think it's great. I've used it. 1080p. It can do all 3D tracking. It can do projections. Everything. The only thing you can't do is export out your
Scripts?
tracked camera
Oh.
as like an FBX or a limit. You can't export out anything, any 3D stuff. But you can do all the 3D tracking. It works great. You can export full 1080p video out. And
You
it
can't
works.
save your specific nodes, though, right?
But your
Like,
scripts
your-
your scripts are not compatible with the full.
No.
Oh no.
Yeah.
You can't share it with
No,
like a
Yeah.
you
Even
can't.
if you
No,
bought it,
and I
you
think they
couldn't
did
bring it
so
in.
you
For
couldn't
an
like
E3
be hired
Yeah.
and then send it back out to
right.
like a studio.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
makes sense.
That makes
but
sense.
yeah, I think like that's how I started learning. I just decided, you know, I need to start learning. I hit this like point like in After
After
Effects.
Effects, yeah.
And I was getting so angry because it would just crash and it was just it wasn't.
What were you doing, by the way?
I was doing a bunch of keying and 3D tracking and a bunch of other stuff. I had like millions of layers. It was for composite.
Millions?
Millions.
Literally.
Anyway, yeah, I just had like it was just I think I was just getting so annoyed at like all the layers and having to like and losing track almost of it, like just because all the pre-comps.
dude, yeah, that's
it was
the
driving me
worst.
crazy, and
Yep.
so I had a buddy and he was like, "You got to learn node base," and so I just got that free 1080p one as soon as they came out with it. It's like, all right, I'm learning it.
Right. Yeah.
And I just sat down and I just started like playing with it, and within I would say like a month or two, I got a good handle on it, and then I've been in it for the past 2 years, and I like if I go back to After Effects, it's like painful. Like once you do node compositing, you go backwards. It's like
I only go
how
into
did I
After
do
Effects
this?
for like
Motion
text
text and
or,
motion
like,
graphics,
some light editing.
Yes,
That's
I've
it.
even used it for some asset creation, which has been
What?
pretty good. But
You don't do that in Fusion?
No, editing in Fusion sucks.
Oh, editing.
Yeah.
I thought you said.
Edit-
I thought you were talking about motion text.
Well, text and
Still,
Fusion.
After Effects is still pretty.
Yeah,
good.
After Effects is-
I mean,
you
is-
I
can't,
still
you
go
can't
in.
beat
No,
it
you
for
can't.
text. I mean,
I don't know.
No, I mean, it's still.
I was
has
holding
very
it.
much has its strengths still.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, it does.
Yeah. You gotta talk to my guy Tony at the Black Magic booth.
But I can definitely pinpoint the time where, so when I went to Nuke, or good catch, or it could have been any node-based compositor really, but I was using After Effects on a feature film in 2014, and I was doing all the compositing for all the effects, and it was on a shot. It was multiple shots really. Started incorporating CG stuff, and
Yeah.
so many layers. It got so heavy, where it was like 3K footage. And I was just like, oh, okay, this isn't happening. So I had to. I was in the middle of the project. I bought Nuke, and I had used it a little bit previously, and I had used Fusion too. So I knew that I could at least get in there and figure some stuff out for sure. I mean, I had used it, and really I guess I've been using it for like 4 years, more so when it comes. And again, it kind of depends. Like sometimes I'll get a job, and I'll actually just use it After Effects for it because it's simpler. It's easy. It makes sense. I'll get in and out faster. And it just makes more sense to use it on certain projects. And I would do the same, I think, with Fusion. And actually, after this podcast, I might just go download Fusion
I
as well
know.
to have
Yes, you should.
that, just in my back pocket.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like chatting with all these guys who are doing film right now because I'm on the opposite spectrum,
Yeah.
with more of the motion graphics, and I'm like, I don't need anything but After Effects.
Yeah.
period. And
I'm right
After
there with
Effects,
you too.
Compositing.
Like I'm
Yeah.
totally out of this conversation because I'm like, oh guys, I really like After Effects still.
I don't know.
And honestly, my compositing in After Effects, Chad and I were talking about it earlier tonight, has reduced by like at least 80% for me.
That's awesome.
Everything I do, I'm like
3D,
all the
yeah.
3D.
That's awesome.
All the 3D third-party plugins are getting so good. And
Yeah.
we were just talking about Redshift and what they're doing.
Yep.
It's like those are all things that I would be doing. What compositing, right?
Yep.
Now I'm not. Now I'm doing them in real time, in 3D, in one software. And I want to ask you guys a question. And now green screen and all that stuff,
Yeah.
like kind of a different spectrum. But do you guys see a spot where like you're going to be using Nuke and Fusion less because of all the things that the third-party like render engines are putting in? Because for me, it's 100% that way.
Yeah, I think there's always going to be a need, I think, for like a 3D and compositor. I mean, Nuke right now I know is like they have Octane that you can have in it as well, where you can start doing, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
Right.
I feel like there's a huge advantage to just like rendering out EXRs with like
As long as
multipasses.
there's
Like,
clients with changes,
yes,
you will need
you will need
compositing.
compositing. Yes,
What about
I
real
agree.
time though? If you're talking real time, what's the difference?
What do you mean real?
Well,
Real-time
like
rendering
how quick
in
is
your
rendering,
3D engine.
right?
Yeah.
How quick is rendering gonna get?
Oh,
To where
I
like,
see
the
what you're
client
saying.
changes
Yeah,
just
yeah.
as
Okay.
quick because you got to render it out from somewhere.
Yes, I mean, a lot of times that department or that person has moved on, and it needs to go into compositing to move through the pipeline. So like it's not even a matter of like, well, can that change go back to the 3D artist? No, it's already that 3D artist has already moved on to the next shot, the next job, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's got to go into compositing now, and like that. I
So
mean,
we're talking big projects.
no,
big
not even like
studios.
not even like
Because
like
someone's moving on to the next
commercials,
job.
like commercial stuff. Like that's
Well,
totally normal.
I guess, but if someone's can't be on a project anymore, it's got to be a bigger studio.
Not necessarily. I
can be
mean, we
smaller.
had a pretty small studio, and we would have artists that like, and they're not really suited. Maybe they're not suited for that. Maybe they're not a look dev 3D artist.
Yeah.
Like they could just be more of a VFX artist, and like you don't want them making those calls. Like that call needs to be made by a compositor who understands color, who understands light, who understands look development. Like you're a unique person because you can do all those things.
Yeah.
Like there's not that many people out there that can of what we were doing, but I wouldn't want them making calls on the final look. You know, like that would have to be done by one of the compositors who understands, like, oh, you know, the mood that we're going for and all that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. Like, it can be done either way, but it's just about what works for that studio, that person, that freelancer, whatever. But I mean, it's all coming to a point where you can do all of it anywhere. So it's just what works for that job.
What you can do.
Yeah, what works for that client, that job, that sort of thing.
I was going to add to that. I mean, it kind of depends on your production pipeline, your workflow, and if you do like camera lock with clients. So like after they can sign off on like camera lock, then you basically have your TD or whoever is rendering on that pipeline, on that end of the pipeline, sets up all your mats for your compositor, and then you can pretty much control any level or any kind of like tweak at the end of
As
the
a
pipeline.
creative director, I wanted that control to happen after the rendering, because I want to be able to be like, I just want this small little tweak, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I didn't want to have to go all the way back to that 3D artist and like, okay, well, what, oh, he's already on another shot? Oh, shit.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
like,
you gotta change the color.
yeah.
Yeah.
You have a holdout.
And you know you're pissing him off to make him go back.
Totally.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
they're like, oh,
Yeah.
what?
It's a matter of seconds versus a matter of rendering out 32-bit linear float pixel data
Yeah.
that could float up to 4K,
Right.
and then bringing that and digesting it back into After Effects and making those tweaks, and maybe
But
the client doesn't
I
like
will
it.
say there are some things though that are better suited to go back and do that. Like especially given GPU rendering and how fast it is, there are some things that you're like, you know what, screw it. I'm trying maybe you're trying to push something that just it would be better just to go back to 3D. At
Or
that
you've
point.
just band-aided it so much.
Yeah,
to where you're
exactly.
like,
Yeah.
I have created this thing 5 times, rendered them out.
Yeah, like
now
I can
it's
only
just better
push this
just
so far before we just realize let's just. Go
I've
back
lost
and
track of
fix it.
all my band-aids in my
And
After Effects
here's the
project.
thing,
Let me
like-
just render it out
Which was
once.
my kind of original question: is do you see your compositing getting reduced? because I've seen mine, but you guys are more in the
Reduced,
film.
reduced
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're able to make calls
and
earlier.
And then does something like Nuke then become as relevant, or does something like Fusion kind of take over those little finite things that you're like Nuke can do, and you're like, you know what, I don't need those much anymore. I can cut Nuke out and do Fusion. I have no idea.
I think in a 3D pipeline, we could probably see ourselves almost cutting out some of these, but I think there's always going to be the VFX pipeline that is always going to use
as long
that
as you're
stuff.
filming something, there's going to
long
be
as
a
you're
need.
filming.
There's going to be a
Right?
need for
Yeah,
compositing at the end of the day. And like what I've noticed, Nuke is like each release they're coming out with like new nodes and new things and new plugins to solve a lot of problems that like I feel like no other package is doing right now. Like their new, what is it, a vector, smart vector.
Yeah.
Holy
Pretty
crap!
crazy.
I don't know if you guys got to check it out. Smart vector, it's incredible. So they have like a lot of cool new tools that I feel like they invest a lot of like research into finding like what problems artists are having and then creating solutions.
Yeah, Chad gave him a couple.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just to add to that, I mean, from my perspective, just like kind of what Aaron was saying, like anytime you have live action footage and 3D stuff, you always need something to marry those together.
Right.
And it's just not going to happen all in 3D, not yet, until all the 3D softwares have built-in compositing.
Yeah.
Which,
Which do
so,
we want? I don't know.
well, I was going to say, Houdini,
Blender.
Blender, things are already happening.
Blender actually has a built-in compositor.
Yeah, it has a compositor.
What? Really?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
did Softimage XSI before it was
Houdini
That's true,
does.
that's true.
Houdini does. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's not to say that that's going to be able to replace something like Nuke or Fusion right away,
Yeah.
but I mean, it'd have to be a
Just
lot of time
different
put into it.
Different people too. Like,
It's
some
I mean, it's
people
different
just don't wanna
people,
go to
different
3D
jobs.
application.
Absolutely, some people might want to go to
Yeah.
compositing, so I
Exactly.
could totally
That's
see
true.
that.
And
But for me, I'm also a control freak, and I also started out in compositing. And for me, when I feel like I'm in compositing, I'm like, yes, I can cheat now. I'm not in the 3D world, so I can cheat and make
Love me some cheating.
So I mean, for me, it's
I
like,
love
all
it.
right, here we go. This is where I'm gonna.
Yeah.
This is where I take the image from 90% to 100%.
That's the hardest
But-
percent.
That's
Yeah.
the hardest. The
That
last
is-
10%.
It's true. It's true. And I'm extremely biased too, because one of my childhood best friends works at Mr. X in Toronto, and he just finished like doing The Shape of Water, and he's like an extremely talented Nuke compositor. And growing up with him and like showing, he got me into like graphics basically, and he started out with After Effects, but just his like skill level, I think it's like if you have someone in your team who's a great compositor, they'll take it to the next level every time whenever you hand them any kind of renders, any kind of like good mats, good.
That's very true. Like,
Yeah,
That's always
AOVs.
been my experience too. Anytime I've worked with a good compositor, I've given them like
man.
shit 3D.
And then it's
and I'm like, they show me what's back. I'm like, I didn't render that.
that's like
What
I mean, it's an
Yeah.
entire different discipline.
Yeah.
totally.
It's the same reason why a director should not edit their own films.
Yep.
It's because it's that additive Sorry, it's like you want the other artist's input. You want them to put their stamp on it. You want them to take ownership of it. And the only way that you're going to do that is if you give them some sort of creative input. So the idea of a compositor in a pipeline like what we're describing is like getting the 3D 80% there means that if you have a good compositor, it's going to be 150% awesome when you get it back.
Yeah.
And like that is the beauty of a good compositor, is like them adding. It's an additive process. And I tell that everybody always talks to me about like rendering and shit, like, oh, should I switch this? Should I switch this? Learning is an additive process. Add tools, do not subtract. Always add. And like whether it's compositing, 3D, 2D, whatever, just
Redshift,
always
Octane.
always add, do not subtract.
Totally, and that goes back to like I still use After Effects
Yeah.
all the time, really. Even though I'm full time compositing Nuke for like major feature film huge shots.
Yep.
But I mean, I still will use both all the time. It's just the way it goes. You don't subtract
dude.
them,
Do not
Totally.
subtract.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. Like when I was learning the 3D applications, started in Standard Renderer, moved over to V-Ray, and then moved to Octane. Octane was a totally different beast, But I was then trying to switch over to Redshift. I found that like the things that I learned in V-Ray translate over to Redshift, and very similar to Arnold as well. Like those kind of like the terms and terminology and like the node-based stuff, it all translates over. I didn't lose any of my knowledge from Octane, I just gained more knowledge, on how to do things.
It's additive, man.
Yeah, and our brains have a lot more room for gaining, so.
Yeah.
Not after tonight.
Work on those C4D gains.
Yeah. Can we talk about a cool C4D feature?
Yes.
Let's talk about it.
Let's do it.
Fields.
Oh, man.
That thing is
Okay,
rad.
if you guys get a chance, watch Tim Clapham's presentation. I saw.
Yeah.
I only got to catch the second one today, but the stuff he is doing with the VDB and the fields together, oh, it's so good. And it's like he's not using like crazy X particle sims and stuff like that. He's just making this beautiful stuff with very simple. Like I watch that guy work, and I'm like, how does your brain work? I need to know, because like, and he's been doing this for a while, you know, so he's got a completely different understanding. Like I've seen a lot of people using the matrix generator or whatever, and it's like, I've never used a matrix generator, you know, this is cool.
Yeah.
You know?
I think what separates him from other instructors is that he has a great basic fundamental of like, he knows like 3D computer science, you know what I mean? Like he could probably jump into Maya or any of these other 3D applications and still get what he wants done accomplished, just because of like understanding just the basic fundamentals of a matrix, like a matrice in like mathematics, you know, or just vectors or like anything like that, like the basic fundamental stuff that we learn maybe in high school or college. Like you never want to sit down and like think about that, but if you have a good fundamental understanding of that, that can help you like build upon your art and help you build more complex rigs or systems or controls.
Yeah.
It's kind of unlimited at that point.
And he gave that talk in LA.
Yeah.
Last
At
week,
the
right?
DMCLA.
DMX, what?
Yeah.
Fields, man. Like when I first looked at Fields, I was like, I don't understand this. Like I don't understand what this is, and that's just because it felt like I didn't, coming from nodes and whatnot, I just didn't understand how it related to the architecture of Cinema 4D. And then when I opened it, I was like, oh shit, okay. Like this is some game changing stuff for cinema.
It really is.
And like once you sort of understand how deep it goes and just how you can manipulate it into doing what you want, the opportunities are opened. And so the things that Chris and Nick and I that have been doing with it, it's been addictive. Like you play with it for 10 minutes and you're like, wow, I could do this, I could do that, and then your brain starts going, and once you understand how it
it's
works,
gonna start thinking in like
Yeah,
fields and like additive and subtractive
your brain,
and like
exactly.
effectors and stuff
And
like
so,
that. It's
but
like
here's the thing:
crazy.
like, if you understand compositing, then you already understand fields. Like that's what a lot of people don't understand. If you understand how transfer modes work, how additive, multiply, subtract, additive operations, then you.
I think you said additive 4 times.
Did I really? Okay. So that's just, it's all additive, baby. and so okay. I've been drinking. Okay.
You don't know me.
Hey, wait a minute. But anyway, but if you know even that sort of basic compositing like fundamental knowledge, then you're already ahead of the game on fields, and then it's just a matter of like, okay, well, how do I art direct it to the way I want? How do I get it to do what I want? What is this thing? How are they doing that? And like once you start to dig into that, man, oh dude, it's super fun.
Fields by themselves would have been like a really awesome update, but the fact that they're doing the fields and the VDB
And the
stuff,
VDBs.
like
Oh, man.
it's insane. It's insane how much you can do when you actually like join them together. Like
Well, I haven't gotten to play with VDBs yet, and model anything with VDBs. But like from what I've seen so far, I'm just thinking that's how my brain works.
Well,
That's
that's
how-
exactly how a lot of modeling programs already work.
Right.
Yeah, ZBrush does that already.
3D Co.
And then you got like Fusion 360,
Yeah.
Moy,
Yeah.
like these are programs that are based on those fundamental principles of like subtracting and adding and filleting. Now, filleting isn't something that VDB modeling can do, it already does it naturally, just because it's basically filling a volume with geometry, and it's going to have some soft roll-offs and whatnot. But yeah, that idea of like, oh, I have this idea for this bottle, you know, and like I know these ridges here are subtracted from this lathe. Okay, well, let me lathe this out and let me subtract these different rings. That makes sense to people. And it's that like I think is gonna, it's open. It's sort of like not only just from a modeling standpoint. Like that's fine, but like think about it from like a design standpoint, right? Think about it from like, okay, well, yeah, I know I can model this mic and that's whatever, but now think about all the crazy things you can design with it. If you have a VDB feeding into a MoGraph object that's maybe opening up holes while other things come out, or things in, or weird things happen, and it's all like procedural happening right there, like that's really dope.
Yeah, I just kind of want to add to that, like just working on all these different projects in Cinema 4D over the past like 5 years or whatever, because you know, coming from like Maya and using like the hypergraph and being able to kind of pass data, what it seems to me, and if you could provide someone with an elevator pitch, would you tell them like the Fields was a way that Cinema 4D is allowing you to kind of break down the MoGraph module and send data your own way without having to use a certain pre-built module effector or something like that? It seems like to me like Fields is a way of like being able to break individual data and then pass it on to different objects.
Not necessarily the way that I think that you're describing the individual passing down of data, the way that Houdini would. It's not like that.
Yeah, but like maybe taking a step in that direction, like where we have a little more freedom.
Yeah, it's taking a step in that direction, but also like making it palatable for the artist. And I think that's an important thing for them to do, because ultimately a lot of people don't want to dive into Houdini because of its just like intimidation factor. But like this is a more palatable approach, and it's very well designed, and the fact that they went with a layer based approach with transfer modes that are very similar to what you already know, like that's by design to make
very
it
smart.
It's a smart way to work. It's also super addictive, and like once you start to break down what you can do with it, with third-party rendering as well, like the things that you can do and the opportunities it opens with proximity shaders and things of that nature, it like your brain starts to go like, oh whoa, okay, well I couldn't do that before, like this is pretty cool,
right?
And like now your mind starts to like go places it wouldn't have before.
Fields is sick. I feel like it's like overshadowing how sick VBD modeling is though too. Like they've got R20's got so many dope features that it's like Fields is probably the one that everyone's going to use the most, just because that's why we all like cinemas, because of MoGraph and that flexibility. But then like I don't want it to overshadow or whatever the VDB modeling, because I've told a few people that I talked to tonight that that's how I do most of my modeling in Cinema 4D right now. I use X Particles Skinner.
You're gonna love it.
And I get geometry and I just drop it in there, and I'm like, it makes sense. I can make very organic things that would be very difficult to make, or just time consuming. Totally time consuming to make. And I'm like, I'm gonna put these in here, get the general shape, and then I can go in and model it how I want. And VDB modeling now in R20 just takes a dump on that. Like, straight up, right? It does. Like you can add, subtract, like you can really model with it. Like my way was just, I mean, it was a junk way of getting loose geometry, and then you had to get the detail. It's like now you can do it and get the detail and get a pretty decent looking mesh all together. I'm like,
it's pretty awesome.
I'm super excited just because I do that all the time.
It'll definitely help.
Modeling's super cumbersome. A lot of artists, just like we were talking about earlier too, it's like, I don't really like rigging. A lot of artists are like, I don't really like modeling. I don't really like UV texturing. Like those are pretty much the three primary things that I think.
Those are really important things.
They are.
But as Cinema 4D artists, those are three things that like we hate. You know, you hate one of those.
Well, you hate them because they've never been really accessible.
Exactly.
And that's
and
true.
now they're getting there, and it's like, embrace that.
No, I get it.
That's how your 3D's going to hit that next
level.
level.
I mean, UVing is not... I've never experienced UVing as a difficult thing until I got into Cinema 4D. Like UVing in 3ds Max is simple.
Yeah.
But in cinema,
throw it
I'm
on
like,
cubic
oh
and
my
you're good to go,
god,
right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I was telling the Maxon
And
guys
tile.
tonight. I was like,
dude,
change
please.
I love these things that looks
Triplanar.
other softwares. are
Yeah,
better.
like thank God for triplanar.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's why I just
No.
keep
I mean that's only a
projections.
band-aid. But
Right.
so eventually you have to UV something, and it's
Yeah.
like those tools are so like,
And I talked to the Maxon people tonight. I was like, when was the last time you gave an update to like body paint and UV?
Which is so weird because body paint used to be a badass back
And
in
that's
the
what
day.
I said. I said
Yeah.
when body paint came out, people were buying Maxon
For
just
body-
for
yeah,
body
that's
paint.
true.
And what's up?
It took them for.
You know?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't it take them till R19 to make that OpenGL in the viewport and
Yeah,
painting?
they did. Yeah, that's what we talked about tonight. No, well, we did the OpenGL. I was like, yeah, but that's just what it looks like when you're doing it. You didn't really change
Yeah.
any of the process of creating the UVs, and they're like, you're right. And
I
was
think-
like, I know. I mean,
Yeah.
I try to think, what do I hate doing in Cinema 4D? UV.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I really hate.
I was gonna say, like, I think part of it is like, I mean, I could be wrong, but there's so many other like third-party companies that are creating such good texturing programs.
Yeah.
Like you have
Substance.
Mari Substance. I love Substance,
yeah.
and now, and you know, I just did a tutorial on the Live Link plugin, and it's phenomenal. Like it just makes it so easy, you know, especially for like, you know, I don't want to be a texture artist, but I want to make something that looks cool.
Yeah.
So I can send it over to Substance, paint on it, use this Live Link plugin, and it sends the materials back. Whether I use Arnold, Octane, Redshift, and it creates the whole material for me, like all plugged in.
And it's cheap.
And it's very cheap.
It's like
and
$20.
Yeah, and it's
That cheap?
it's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, it's such a great plugin. So it's like I can kind of see where it's like, okay, do we put all of our like resource and development into body paint when they're like there's all these other companies creating that thing specifically, or do we just what we're really strong at, you know?
Well, how much
I don't know.
is Octane?
Just
a
thoughts.
$20 a month.
20
if
bucks a
you're
month.
going to
Okay,
if you're
so-
subscription model.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I get so many requests for tutorials, and they're like, "Is it going to be an Octane?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but it's like $20 a month." And they're like, "Well, I can't do that. Can you please do it in physical or standard render?" And it's the
Yeah.
same thing. If you build it in, it's
That's true,
complaints after complaint after complaint. Oh, I don't have that software. I can't do it. It doesn't matter if it's $20.
Yeah.
And like people are complaining about that. The tutorial I'm doing at SIGGRAPH this year.
Yeah.
People are like, I hope you're not using any like online textures because I can't afford that. I hope it's
Because I have
procedural.
Cinema 4D for
Because it's
$4,000, but I
And I'm
can't
like,
afford $20 plugin.
Well, I hear you,
Wait
right?
a
But I hear
second.
them as well.
Yeah.
If
There's
people
something
are
that doesn't
literally
add up
complaining
there.
to me about not being able to buy, and you know, I mean, textures.com, like, I mean, how much is it for a
Those-
few credits? I mean, we're talking.
Yeah, they
but-
give you a free
but
credit.
people are-
Free
Totally.
one, right?
People are saying they can't do it, and I'm like,
What?
all right, well, I'm going to talk about how you can take your own photos and bring it into Photoshop and do what I'm talking about. But
I don't want Photoshop.
yeah. No, but
That's too expensive.
but right, I'm just like trying to think. Like the beautiful thing about Cinema 4D that I always loved is before they had the sculpting, I started messing with ZBrush, which I hated just because of the interface, and I started messing, and I started messing with Mudbox, which I really liked. And then Cinema 4D came out with its own sculpting
yeah.
engine, and
I
it
love
was
the
almost
sculpting in Cinema
identical,
4D.
in my opinion, to Mudbox. Very similar, at least, very close. And I was like, you know what, this is fantastic. I don't have to leave the software. I'm in it. They have subtle differences. ZBrush has way more differences than Mudbox or Cinema sculpting, but there's something really nice that Maxon's doing about making the basics all built in. You know,
Yeah.
Cinema 4D sculpting is not ZBrush,
Right.
but does it suit 60% of the industry? Probably
60% of the time, it works every time.
every time. Yeah, that's just science.
Yeah.
Straight up science.
Science.
So I don't know. I think Maxon's got a good thing. I think if they added a couple of simple UV functions that were kind of like the other like parties that we're talking about, it wouldn't go to waste at all. I feel like a lot of people aren't buying those and just are stuck with outdated crap.
Yeah.
More or less.
You know what's really frustrating is going to Tech Papers Fast Forward and seeing all these research white papers that are talking about like UVing, and it's like they take like a crazy arbitrary mesh that has like holes in it, and they're like, we're gonna introduce a way to like pretty much automate this
Smooth it
whole
out.
process.
It's fantastic.
And it happens every single year. There's always papers talking about like surface detail and like UVs, and it's just a wonder. I don't. Chad and I were talking. It's like you know, these people who write these amazing research papers, like, do these large corporations buy them up and just keep them in house and don't really release it to the public?
Yeah.
So, like, where
man.
where does that go? Like, where does that?
Somebody call Alex Jones.
I don't. Yeah.
They're making the frogs gay.
Rip your shirt off and say that.
Sorry. I would settle for bounding box selections.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like I just want to manipulate my UVs with a bounding box. That's all. Maybe.
Yeah. There's
That's
got to
what
be
I'm saying,
a better
just
way.
Couple simplistic,
Yeah.
couple simplistic things. I was chatting tonight, and they were talking about how about better projection, like mapping.
Yeah.
I was like, that could be cool, but it's still a band-aid for what you really need. You know, stuff that like wraps around the geometry instead of just on the whatever the front-facing thing is. And I was like, that's cool, but it doesn't solve if you need to rotate the object.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, I don't know.
You should. I don't know if you guys have ever played with 3D Coat. It's another
I've
sculptor.
heard great
It is.
I
It's
have.
pretty rad. It does a very, very good job. It's just like ZBrush, but I feel like it's a lot more user friendly. I've been playing with it quite a bit. Does a great job with the UVs and retopologizing. Like I can have a super dense mesh. That thing just, it will retopologize, and then it will create like a height map or a normal map or whatever for all the little detail that I had sculpted in, and then it just it reduces the polys, and it looks phenomenal. So I've been a huge fan of using 3D Code. That's kind of been added to my pipeline. And yeah, you guys check it out. It does some good stuff.
My secret.
Yeah.
Find a ZBrush artist.
Yeah.
That's
seriously.
That's
No, really.
who's really good.
Yeah.
And then just pay him a little money, and say, hey, can you UV this for me?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They'll do it.
Can you retop it for me?
Yep.
Cool.
UV master.
Yeah. How's this sound, Benjamin? Huh?
It's a little help.
Here's my problem.
Wow.
I teach at Ringling College as well.
Yeah.
And so I use, like, I want to use 3D Coat, but I know in my head, if I use it, I'm going to forget how to do it in Cinema 4D.
I know.
And so now I have to teach these students how to do it in a backwards way.
Oh crap.
And it's just like, there's an easier, and I fumble the whole time. This happens a lot, right? Because I use third-party plug
I
renders
fumble
and
all
stuff.
the time. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, they know.
They have
They
no
know what I
idea.
tell them. I'm like, in the industry, though, people are using X, Y, and Z. We don't have it. So I have to teach you this way. But there are better ways. We just don't have it. So sit with me while we UV map this in Cinema 4D. And yes, it sucks. I agree. It does. But we're going to do it together. Well, I mean, honestly, it kind of does. It's like, dude, there's like, I mean, ironing out like stuff, and if you do UV meshing, man, it is brutal sometimes.
Yeah,
you
it
know,
is.
it's really brutal.
It is.
And it's like, and I'm trying to make them have fun doing this. Like, trust me, it's rough. And,
Put it on
I say
Cubic,
that,
call it a day.
and I'm like,
Yep.
this is not the
Dry
fun
planer.
This is not the fun aspect of the project.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
kind of a technical thing that you have to step through, and after you lay it out, then it's fun. I
It's
promise
an important
fun
lesson.
after.
Life is not always fun, kids.
I know.
This
I
is
know.
one of them. Just like rotoscoping.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
kids, we're gonna roto for the next 8 hours.
Until my job is done. I mean, your project.
Your
I'm just saying.
I taught my younger brother how to roto so that I could send all of my roto work to him.
Oh my God, that
not
is
even
the
in the
ultimate. Wow. Yeah.
There's like,
doing it right. Just follow the edge of that guy's arm.
I told him, I said, dude, if you learn how to roto, I can get everyone sending them sending stuff to you.
there's like one command that I wish Maxon would just create, you know, inside of the UV commands tab. They have a
Just
select
one?
connect. They have, well, this would solve a lot of people's issues, I think, and it would create a little bit better of a workflow. So right now, what we can't do is like, we do automatic mapping, right? And it's a projection from 6 angles. So you have these islands of UVs, right? In Maya, there's a simple command that's move and sew. And what it will
Yep.
do is it will move the piece
Where it's
and it
connected.
will lock it into the next island
Yeah, where it's connected. though.
where it's connected, and it won't actually it won't relax it, or it won't do like a
Distort.
UV layout, but it will at least get you to the same position to where you could run a relax command after that.
3ds
It
Max
is
is like that,
so
too.
incredibly painstakingly awful to do the select connected inside of Cinema 4D, and then you have this like crazy edge that meets, and it doesn't move the whole island, you know, and that's the worst part of it, honestly.
Yeah.
That's the
You
next
could
step.
speed it up.
I
I
know
think
some of those words.
they're definitely going to improve that. I
Yeah.
gotta believe that they're going to improve that, especially after everything that they've been doing. It's the natural. It's a natural step.
Yeah.
You know.
Another thing I mentioned is, okay, so what I'd like to look at is what softwares are doing things better than Cinema 4D. And really, there's only one as far as I'm concerned. That's Houdini. If you're going to talk about 3D, you're going to talk about a software that's just making people drool over its capabilities, it would be Houdini. And so I was like, okay, what is it that Houdini's do? Well, why don't people migrate, everyone just migrate to Houdini? Well, it's too hard, right? It's too technically challenging. That's why Cinema 4D artists are Cinema 4D artists. We don't want to do that. And so the people that are staying here, what do we want? And I'm looking at, like, what is it, the FEM system that it has, which is like, it's kind of like a soft body thing.
Yeah, it's really good.
And it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Can Cinema 4D adopt that kind of technology directly in it? Better dynamics, better tearing effects. Not just cloth. Like, X Particles, like, updated but is X Particles cloth as good as Houdini's? No, I would
I
assume
think actually Maya has the best cloth.
made and cloth. Is it still in cloth?
Yeah.
And so
And cloth.
and so where is that for cinema? It's like the simulation stuff. They can improve that. They can update that.
Yeah, for sure. That's
and that
definitely.
would get so many people excited. Remember when they came out with Dynamics? How many people were hyped?
Yeah.
Just make a
Over
box
that.
falls.
I think there's
Yeah.
a lot of that stuff probably in the pipeline that we don't know about because I mean, like every software company, their roadmap is years ahead already, right?
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah.
So who
They're
knows?
starting
They're thinking
development
2 years,
on.
They're already working
Yeah.
2 years ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're
They're in R22.
in the future.
R22.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Future man.
Well, every like everything inside of Cinema 4D that's dynamics, it's still the bullet engine, right? As far as we know.
Is it?
I
would
based
say-
on the
no
bullet
idea.
engine?
Some
didn't know that.
Yeah, some of the dynamics in Cinema 4D are based on the bullet
I'm new
engine.
to Cinema
I would
4D.
I would say the biggest thing
What
to
is
me
the
when I
4D
look at
for?
Houdini is
Fourth D?
Time.
Fourth dimension.
Oh, it's time.
Saves
future.
you time.
Future. I think the biggest thing is the unified. Everything's unified in Houdini. Everything works together. All the dynamics, all the
data,
cloth,
it's
everything
all
works
readable.
together.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's to me, that's one of the strong points of Houdini is everything's connected.
That's
But
true.
each individually are perfect.
Yep.
You know, like
Yeah.
self collisions and
It's
all
amazing.
that stuff. It's just unbelievable how
Yep.
smart it is.
Yeah. Does anyone know what it was
So
called
we should
before
turn Houdini.
side effects picked it up?
I don't want
No.
to know. I want someone to make
What
sure.
was it?
There, if someone can Google real quick, it was like in the late '80s. Before it was called Houdini, it was like one of the first like 3D programmable applications,
What am I
and then
looking
like
for?
side effects picked it up. What was Houdini before it was Houdini?
It's always
It wa-
been Houdini as far as I've
Yeah.
known, but
Yeah.
I guess
It
maybe, I
was
don't
so
know.
it was based on
The
like
best
this
program
older.
prior to that was XSI.
It was based on this older
That was
software.
a good one.
What?
Prisms.
Yeah,
Prisms?
you might
Was it
be right.
Prisms.
Maybe.
That sounds right.
I don't know. I just know that it was based on another application, and then they commercialized it when Side Effects picked it up, and they called it Houdini.
Yeah.
Prisms.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember hearing
Oh,
that word
interesting.
now.
Yeah.
That's what G Rant told us.
So it's been around
He's a Houdini
forever.
guy, so I know.
honestly,
Right.
it's been.
Dang.
Look at that.
I believe it's one of the oldest.
Chat room comes.
Yeah.
Prisms.
Yeah,
Yep.
comes in
Yeah.
with the win. There you go.
Yeah, I believe it's like one of the oldest 3D softwares out there. So it's been. They've
It's been
had a great
shaking its
foundation.
fist at those young kids.
Which is
Yeah.
funny because I only started hearing about it for the past like 3 or 4 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've known about it
Houdini?
since forever,
Yeah.
but it's always
Oh, it's
been
been
such an abstract
Yeah, I was-
VFX tool.
I
Yeah.
was I was
Yeah.
I was
Some
hanging
guy
out with
knows
this
what
guy who worked at Real Effects.
Yeah,
you
that's
know.
where I heard about it too.
Yeah, and he was like, "Oh yeah, they've got us moving over to something called Houdini." And I was like,
Yep.
"Houdini? I've never heard of Houdini." They were all like Maya people.
magic?
Yeah,
It is.
And
But
it's like
they
they
paid for
trained.
the whole staff to get
Yeah,
trained.
they trained their entire staff on Houdini.
Dang, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and so I was like, I'll check it out. Okay, cool. Hey, looks cool. I wonder if we'll ever hear about this again. Yeah, Real Effects.
This looks
luck with
complicated.
that.
Clothes.
I gotta say though, like, I mean, I've played around in Houdini like quite a bit with some of my coworkers, and man, it's a pretty sweet. Like we were talking about node, node-based compositing. Doing node-based like 3D work is pretty rad too.
Oh, for sure.
It's pretty interesting. I mean, there's some artists that create some incredible stuff by just like simulating stuff, and then they'll just like have some organic web of I don't even know what. It just looks amazing, and they'll just swap out some like one node and change it instead of squares, they'll use spheres, and it just like goes down because it's procedural. So it just like goes down the chain, and it just changes, and it's amazing. So,
And are you modeling in Houdini as well?
yeah, you can.
I know you
never,
can.
I never have.
I've seen
Can, but
tutorials,
good
and I'm
lord,
like,
that's gotta be-
that looks.
I've
rough.
done projections in there, and it's worked great. And then obviously just a bunch of other rendering and stuff. It worked really good.
It's actually amazing because you can create Houdini digital assets.
Yeah.
That you can actually with the Houdini engine.
4D, right?
Yeah, you can actually set up because it really is 3D programming. Side Effects doesn't want to call it 3D programming; they rather call it procedural because that's a little more easier to swallow than like saying you're programming in 3D. But that's exactly what it is. I mean, you sit down and it's basically one big script when you're creating your node tree.
G-Rant says,
I'm afraid to go into it because I think I won't come out.
You won't. It is a hole. It's a rabbit hole.
Like,
Never
I'll
get
just
out.
like, all right, cool. I guess I'm Houdini now.
No.
sorry, Nick.
Yeah.
See you guys. Here's my.
I'll be in the basement.
When was the last time you had sleep?
Just do RGB Gorilla.
Yeah.
And it'll be all about data.
All Houdini.
Oh, that's
RGBA. RGBA Gorilla.
It would be RGB chimpanzee, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's good.
We love it.
Yeah, Grant said modeling
Copyright.
in Houdini is not fun.
That's an old story. I'll tell you something about that.
So we got to wrap pretty soon because I think pretty soon it's going to be. It's almost time for the Monday
bedtime.
morning meeting on the East Coast. At this point.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So
Oh my gosh.
so before we go though, I did want to just real quick talk about what we're talking about this week, what our presentations are about.
Yeah.
Matt and I are going over the Dead Mouse.
The Rick and
Rick and Morty
Morty
things.
Dead Mouse stuff, as well as the projection mapping stuff we did for Busch Gardens. So it'll be fun. A lot of stuff you guys all know, but it's still fun to see the process behind a fun project that we worked on. Then you get to hear a lot of swearing.
Yeah. What are you doing? What's your
my SIGGRAPH presentation? It's how I do my ground, rocks, and terrain. It's kind of a long requested kind of tutorial from my stuff, and kind of that macro level terrain, and I'll show you how to do it in the physical render, the Octane render, and I'll talk about how to do it without spending any extra money on third-party plugins. How you doing?
Dude, the sculpting stuff that you were doing was awesome.
Yeah,
like,
I jump into sculpting a little bit.
I was like thoroughly like I've done sculpting, but like in cinema, and I really like it. But just like seeing you create this rock, it's like it looks awesome.
Yeah, thanks. I love the sculpting engine. I use it.
Yeah,
it's great. And I said this. I say it in my presentation. I do it in almost every project since it came out. I love. It's so organic. It's so natural to sculpt. And modeling I never gravitated towards like hard surface modeling, although I love it and I nerd out about great hard surface modeling, which is like a total nerd sentence. Yeah. But we all appreciate it. Everyone gets me. But the organic modeling for me, that's what
safe place.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Someone walk me to my place after this. That's really I've gravitated to the organic modeling, so I hit a little bit of that up in it as well, and a couple techniques I've learned through doing that. So it's a fun one.
Cool. Chad, what are you presenting on?
All three of us, Chris, Nick, and I, are gonna do like a round robin, passing the mic back and forth about all of our favorite things about R20.
Well, we have a third handheld mic.
Yeah.
I guess
Perfect. Yeah, I'm glad because we're just gonna kind of bounce back. Like, what did you like? Oh, I like this. I like that. So we're just gonna show all our favorite shit.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Nice.
That's good.
Cool, Josh.
Yep. I'll be talking about some of the R20 features related to visual effects, specifically a lot of the motion tracking stuff. I feel like a lot of people are going to be talking about like fields and VDB stuff. Yeah. But I feel like motion tracking updates have kind of been thrown under a rug or something. So
Your presentation
awesome.
blew me away with the new motion tracker stuff.
Yeah, me too.
It's like I'm watching this and I'm like, are you serious? Are you serious? Like, seriously, you guys have to watch this one specifically for the footage that you shot that you motion track.
Yeah,
like,
Is that the
it's
arm one?
insane.
Oh, sweet.
It is insane.
Yeah, thank you.
It made me want to go film something to track it,
Yeah.
to do graphics on it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I think I present Tuesday 1:30 Vancouver time.
You also show the new Olympic stuff as well.
Yeah, I show
too.
a little bit of Olympic stuff too.
Yeah.
And how that you can retime it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I
Which
bring it
is-
into one of the shots that I object tracked.
Yeah.
Have a little bit of
And
fun.
there's a new I don't know if you showed this or not, but there's I think you can right click now and save as a limbic.
Yeah.
You can, yeah, you can do that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
So
you can,
na-
On
you can
any-
save
So
as a limbic
selected.
and delete.
Yeah,
You're right
save
click,
as
yeah,
a limbic
selected.
and delete, and
And
it goes,
delete.
Literally
it goes
just like
into.
goes, "Boop, I'm an Olympic now.
Like even
Yeah.
on like MoGraph animated.
That'll
or
replace it.
something.
I
I'm gonna
love-
show a
oh,
cloth
man.
cache like that.
That is
Oh, nice.
awesome.
Yeah. It's super
And-
nice.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'll-
It saves it into a new like you got the text folder, and then I think there's a new
Yeah.
Olympic folder
Yeah.
or
A
something.
streaming folder.
Yeah. That like it just saves it right into,
Oh.
which is awesome. So
Yeah.
you can
replace
do-
it with whatever you want to, like if it's a different place that you have your file. Whatever.
Yeah.
No, it's really nice. And I'll touch on a little bit of the multi-instances as well, which is
Yeah.
pretty sweet in R20.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is definitely not talked about enough. I'm going to talk
Yeah.
about a little bit in mine too.
I have this like weird Cineversity course that's supposed to come out at some point, and it was going to talk about MoGraph to Unity, and talk about high definition render pipeline, scriptable render pipeline. So I'm hoping it will come out this year. I don't know. I've been busy, but that's a plan.
Now that R20 is out, I bet they'll probably,
There's too much goodness not
Yeah.
to bring a limbic. There's too much goodness not to bring in a limbic sequence that you create with fields or OpenVDB Mesher, and then bring that into a real-time engine, and let that stream off of a really fast like M.2 or something like that. You could create some really cool installations with it.
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah.
I'm going to be presenting on. We're doing some camera tracking,
Nice.
but I didn't get to use
Oh
R20s.
man.
I know. I was
Were you
really
watching
bummed.
his and be like,
Yeah, I was.
"Oh,
I watched like
man."
when they were showing all the new things, and I was like, really? Like they like
Just let me
yeah,
use
come
Houdini
on.
again.
Yeah,
Come
I know. So yeah, I'll be doing some camera. I'm taking a shot from a course that I'm coming out with, and we are just gonna do a camera solve, and then bake the animation, and then projection. So creating like photorealistic environments using projections in Cinema 4D using Projection Man. So yeah, that'll be what, Thursday at 12 or 12:30.
Cool.
Vancouver
Yeah,
time.
right
Yep.
after us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right on.
So everything's going to be at c40live.com, and we're going to be doing some interviews throughout the week as well. on
Lots of
video,
them, yeah.
posting that on the YouTubes. But if you don't want to watch the videos, if you're not a video person, you just want to hear the interviews, that's going to be all strung together as usual as the podcast for the following week.
Yep.
And
We get to take a break.
yeah,
Nah.
and go work.
We're working a lot.
And so it smells like a hot, sweaty, drunken locker room in here. So
Sorry.
we're gonna get out of here. I
One
still
of
have to
us.
post the show and work on like another thing, and maybe get some sleep in there somewhere. So you know,
Oh yeah, and make sure and watch our presentation at the end. We've got something really excited that we want to announce.
yeah, that too. That should be fun. You can subscribe to us on iTunes, leave a review. You can also subscribe to the show on your podcatcher of choice. Helps get our ratings up. You can subscribe to our newsletter and all the other stuff and things. You know what it is.
Subscribe to everything.
Everything. You got the
Subscribe.
T-shirts, no Brograph, no MoGraph, the Gate and Simone limited edition, the
Super
Feel the
limited.
Bab 2020, all the profits from that goes to Doctors Without Borders, and the Render
awesome.
Things T-shirt and a hoodie, and then that's about it. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course YouTube, and Brograph.com. Until next time, I'm Dave.
Not Matt.
I'm Dave Brodeur.
I'm Chad.
I'm Josh.
Brandon.
Aaron.
Have a good one.
Later, bros.
Later, bros.
Later.
Bye.
All right, we're still live.
Yeah,
Stand
don't say
by.
anything.
Don't say anything yet.
Here's what I think about politics.
Unsubscribe.
Unsubscribed.
Thank you guys for